The sun was setting over a small suburban town, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. In her modest apartment, Claire sat on her couch, staring blankly at her phone. She had been replaying the events of the past few months in her mind, trying to make sense of how her life had taken such a drastic turn. The faint sound of the TV in the background couldn't distract her from the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Claire, a 24-year-old waitress with dreams of becoming an artist, had met Ethan at a gallery opening she attended on a rare night off. Ethan, charming and charismatic, was older and sophisticated, the kind of man who seemed like he had it all together. They hit it off immediately, and Claire, captivated by his confidence and allure, found herself falling for him faster than she had ever imagined. What started as a whirlwind romance soon became complicated. Claire discovered she was pregnant after only a few months of dating Ethan. Nervous but hopeful, she believed they could face the challenge together. However, Ethan's reaction crushed her optimism. Instead of sharing her excitement or discussing their future, Ethan turned cold. "This isn't part of the plan, Claire," he said during their heated conversation at a coffee shop. His face, once full of charm, now wore an expression of irritation. "You need to take care of this. It's not the right time for me." Claire, stunned, tried to reason with him, but Ethan grew more defensive. Days later, he began avoiding her calls and texts. She decided to confront him at his workplace, a law firm downtown. When she arrived, she was met with security blocking her from entering the building. It became clear Ethan had no intention of stepping up. Ethan had several motivations for abandoning Claire with the pregnancy and pressuring her to terminate it, many of which were tied to his personal life, ambitions, and fears. Ethan was in his early 40s, a seasoned and polished lawyer with a reputation for winning high-stakes cases. His sophistication and confidence made him magnetic, especially to someone like Claire, who was in her early 20s and new to the city at the time. Ethan came from a wealthy family, and his career had only bolstered his financial standing. He lived in a luxurious penthouse, drove a high-end car, and surrounded himself with people who catered to his every whim. Ethan was also married. His wife, Vanessa, was the daughter of a powerful political figure, and their marriage was as much a strategic alliance as it was a personal relationship. Vanessa's connections had opened many doors for Ethan, helping him secure influential clients and grow his legal empire. Although their marriage lacked passion, it was convenient, and Ethan was unwilling to risk his status and wealth for a fleeting romance. Claire, with her youthful energy and artistic spirit, was a stark contrast to the calculated world Ethan inhabited. What began as a chance encounter at an art show blossomed into a secret affair. Claire was drawn to Ethan's charm and the attention he lavished on her, unaware of the layers of deceit beneath his polished exterior. Heartbroken and feeling abandoned, Claire tried to move forward on her own. She juggled long shifts at the diner and visits to the doctor, all while dealing with the gossip from coworkers who had pieced together her situation. She kept the details to herself, not wanting to burden anyone or appear vulnerable. But Ethan wasn't done. While he laid on the couch in the living room, he replayed in his head all that had happened. Ethan feared that news of the affair and the pregnancy would damage his carefully curated image. His reputation as a family man and respected lawyer was integral to his success. The scandal could lead to social ostracism and loss of clients. If Vanessa discovered the affair, the consequences would be severe. Ethan knew she wouldn't tolerate infidelity, especially one that resulted in a child. Divorce would not only end their marriage, but also sever his ties to her influential family, which was a cornerstone of his career. Although Ethan was wealthy, he viewed the idea of supporting Claire and a child as an unnecessary drain on his resources. To him, Claire was a temporary indulgence, not someone he intended to share his life with permanently. Ethan was used to controlling every aspect of his life, and the pregnancy represented a loss of control. It was a reminder of his recklessness, something he couldn't manipulate or lawyer his way out of. "Everything okay, Ethan?" Vanessa asked as she worked in. "Oh, sure, darling," Ethan replied. "I am just tired, work was hectic," he said. Ethan tried one more time to convince Claire to terminate the pregnancy, framing it as the best solution for both of them. He painted a grim picture of her future as a single mother, emphasizing the challenges she would face without his support. When Claire refused, standing firm in her decision to keep the baby, Ethan's demeanor shifted. He became cold and distant, and began to make plans on how to silence Claire and her pregnancy. He even went as far as to suggest through intermediaries that she was attempting to trap him for his money, a claim that stung Claire deeply. Ethan's wealth allowed him to take further steps to silence Claire. He hired private investigators to dig into her past, hoping to discredit her if she went public with their story. Weeks later, Claire began receiving anonymous notes at her apartment. Ethan used his legal expertise to draft intimidating letters, warning Claire of potential consequences if she tried to involve him in her life or the child's. They were typed messages, each more threatening than the last, urging her to stay quiet about the pregnancy. At first, she dismissed them, thinking it was a cruel coincidence. But when a black SUV began parking near her building every night, she realized this was no accident. For Ethan, Claire's pregnancy wasn't just a personal inconvenience, it was a threat to the meticulously crafted empire he had built. His selfishness, fear of exposure, and obsession with maintaining his image drove his decisions. However, his actions would ultimately backfire, as Claire's resilience and the support of strangers like Sam would expose the truth about him and bring justice to light. One night, while walking home from work, Claire noticed the same black SUV following her. Fear gripped her as she quickened her pace, only to find herself cornered in a dimly lit alley. A man stepped out of the vehicle, wearing a dark suit and speaking in a calm but menacing tone. "Ethan doesn't want any trouble," the man said. "You'll receive a generous sum to keep quiet and take care of things." Claire stood frozen, her heart racing. "I'm not taking any money, and I'm not getting rid of my baby," she said, her voice trembling. The man stepped closer, his tone hardening. "That would be a mistake. Think carefully, miss." Before the situation could escalate, a voice called out from behind them. "Is there a problem here?" A tall man, with kind eyes and a steady presence, stepped into the alley. The stranger had been walking his dog when he noticed the exchange. The man in the suit quickly backed off, muttering something about a misunderstanding before retreating to the SUV. Claire's savior introduced himself as Sam, a community outreach worker who lived nearby. Sensing her distress, Sam offered to walk her home. Grateful and shaken, Claire accepted. Over tea in her apartment, Claire opened up to Sam about her situation. As she spoke, tears streamed down her face. Sam listened intently, his expression softening with each detail. When she finished, he leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "You don't have to go through this alone," he said. "There are resources and people who can help. And as for Ethan, he doesn't get to bully you into silence." Over the next few weeks, Sam connected Claire with a network of advocates and legal advisors. He introduced her to a lawyer who specialized in cases involving coercion and harassment. Together, they began building a case against Ethan, gathering evidence of the threatening notes and surveillance. The process was grueling. Ethan fought back, using his wealth and connections to discredit Claire. He painted her as a gold digger and a liar, filing a counterclaim for defamation. The stress took its toll, but Claire refused to back down, drawing strength from the growing support system Sam had helped her build. Ethan, desperate to silence Claire and salvage his reputation, and his counterclaim against her for defamation, he claimed that her allegations about the affair and the pregnancy were baseless attempts to tarnish his name and extort money. The trial was a spectacle, drawing significant attention due to Ethan's high-profile status as a successful lawyer and family man. Ethan's strategy was to discredit Claire completely. His legal team, composed of some of the best attorneys money could buy, argued that Claire was a young, opportunistic artist who fabricated the affair to gain financial leverage. They painted her as someone with a history of unstable relationships and sought to exploit her vulnerabilities to shift public perception. The courtroom battle was intense. Ethan's lawyers spared no expense, but Claire's legal team was relentless. They presented the notes, the surveillance footage, and testimony from Sam as a witness to the alley confrontation. Claire definitely was not alone. With Sam's help, she had secured the services of a legal team, which among them is a dedicated and sharp lawyer named Julia Brooks, who specialized in representing marginalized clients. Julia prepared meticulously, knowing the stakes were high not just for Claire, but for anyone who had ever been silenced by power and privilege. In the courtroom, Ethan presented himself as calm and composed, faking indignation over the accusations. However, cracks began to show as Julia began her cross-examinations and presented Claire's evidence. Julia presented a series of messages exchanged between Ethan and Claire, proving the existence of their relationship. The messages revealed not only their intimacy but also Ethan's initial reaction to the pregnancy, acknowledgement, and attempts to convince Claire to terminate it. This contradicted Ethan's claim that the relationship never happened. Sam testified about the day he found Claire distraught and scared, detailing how she confided in him about Ethan's abandonment. Another witness, a mutual acquaintance from the art gallery where Ethan and Claire first met, confirmed seeing them together frequently and behaving like a couple. Julia uncovered transactions from Ethan's account that showed him making payments to Claire early in the relationship, which were consistent with his efforts to keep her silent after she became pregnant. Julia used Ethan's aggressive counterclaim as evidence of his attempts to intimidate and silence Claire, framing it as an abuse of power. The turning point on the first day of trial came when Ethan's assistant came forward, admitting she had been ordered to deliver the notes and coordinate the intimidation efforts. The next day, everyone was in the courtroom and the trial continued. No one expected this next turn of event, not even Ethan's solid legal team. The most dramatic turn of events came when Vanessa, Ethan's wife, entered the courtroom unannounced on the second day of the trial. By this point, Vanessa had learned of the affair and the child through rumors and private investigations of her own. She was livid, not just because of Ethan's betrayal, but also because his actions threatened her family's political and social standing. Vanessa's entrance caused a palpable shift in the atmosphere. As she sat silently in the back of the courtroom, her icy glare never leaving Ethan, it was clear to everyone that the facade of Ethan's perfect life was crumbling. When Vanessa was called to testify as a surprise witness, having volunteered to Julia, she revealed emails and private correspondence where Ethan admitted to the affair and discussed strategies to silence Claire. Vanessa's testimony was devastating to Ethan's case. She exposed his duplicity, admitting that their marriage had been more of a transactional partnership than a loving union. She declared that she would be filing for divorce immediately and supported Claire's claims entirely. The courtroom erupted into murmurs as the judge struggled to maintain order. Ethan's legal team faltered, their carefully constructed defense collapsing under the weight of irrefutable evidence and Vanessa's revelations. Ethan, visibly shaken and unable to maintain his composure, lashed out at Claire, accusing her of ruining his life. This outburst only further alienated him in the eyes of the judge and jury, painting him as a manipulative and self-serving man who used his power to oppress others. The judge, in a stern and deliberate tone, dismissed Ethan's counterclaim for defamation, stating that the evidence overwhelmingly supported Claire's truthfulness. The judge then commended Claire for her bravery in standing up against someone so powerful. As Ethan's reputation lay in ruins, Vanessa walked out of the courtroom with her head held high, signaling the end of their marriage and the beginning of Ethan's downfall. As the truth unraveled, Ethan's polished facade crumbled. The judge ruled in Claire's favor, issuing a restraining order against Ethan and awarding her damages for emotional distress. The case became a landmark for victims of coercion and intimidation, inspiring others to speak out. For Claire, the victory was bittersweet. She had fought tirelessly for justice, and while she had won, the emotional toll was immense. Yet, as she exited the courtroom holding Sam's hand, she felt a renewed sense of strength and hope for the future. Sam, now a close friend, visited regularly, always bringing a smile to Claire's face with his stories and his dog's antics. In him, she found a reminder that even in the darkest times, kindness and courage could change everything. Claire's story began to spread throughout the community, first through whispers and then through local media coverage. People were moved by her bravery, and her unwavering determination resonated with many who had faced similar struggles. The legal victory wasn't just a win for her, it became a symbol of hope for those who felt powerless against wealth and influence. As the weeks went by, Claire started receiving messages from strangers, letters and emails of support. Some were from women who had been in situations like hers, thanking her for standing up and proving that justice could prevail. Others came from advocacy groups offering resources and assistance. Ethan, on the other hand, faced significant fallout. His reputation in the legal world was tarnished, and several of his high-profile clients began distancing themselves. The exposure of his tactics not only cost him his professional standing but also isolated him socially. People he once considered allies turned their backs, unwilling to be associated with his disgrace. We will not forget the courtroom battle that has left Ethan's world to be unraveled entirely. His reputation as a respectable lawyer now in tatters, his marriage to Vanessa was over, and he faced widespread public backlash for his actions. Vanessa's decisive testimony and her public support for Claire had further isolated Ethan, leaving him with few allies if at all there was any left. Initially, Ethan avoided all contact with Claire. His pride and the humiliation of losing the case left him bitter and resentful. He viewed the child not as a blessing but as a constant reminder of his failures and the life he had destroyed. Ethan retreated into himself, distancing himself from both the public and his responsibilities. Months passed, and Claire gave birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she named Lily. Sam was by her side throughout the process, acting as a supportive partner and a father figure. He had grown close to Claire during the ordeal, and their bond deepened as they navigated this new chapter together. Sam stepped up, attending every doctor's appointment, helping Claire prepare for Lily's arrival, and being present in the delivery room. As Claire cradled her newborn daughter, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. It had been a battle, but she emerged stronger, surrounded by a community that refused to let her face it alone. As Claire began her journey as a mother, Ethan's absence became increasingly irrelevant. Claire found strength in her role as a parent, with Sam and a newfound network of supportive friends standing by her. Yet, there were occasional whispers about whether Ethan would ever acknowledge Lily or make amends. Despite her legal triumph, Claire's journey wasn't without its challenges. Motherhood came with its own set of trials. Sleepless nights and financial pressures weighed heavily on her, but she faced them head-on. Her art, which had taken a back seat during the turmoil, became a source of solace and inspiration. She started painting again, using her emotions and experiences to create works that were raw, honest, and deeply personal. Sam continued to be a rock in her life. On days when the weight of it all felt overwhelming, he would show up unannounced, carrying groceries or offering to babysit so Claire could have a moment to breathe. His presence was a reminder that not all strangers were threats, some were blessings in disguise. One day, while sketching in the park with her baby sleeping in a stroller nearby, Claire was approached by a gallery owner who had seen her work in a community art show. The owner, impressed by the emotion and depth of her paintings, offered her the opportunity to showcase her art in an upcoming exhibition. The day of the exhibition was nerve-wracking but exhilarating. As she stood among her paintings, greeting attendees, she noticed Sam entering with a small group of people. Among them were several women Claire recognized from the messages of support she had received. They had come to meet her, to thank her in person for being a voice for those who couldn't speak out. As the evening progressed, Claire realized that her story had become more than just her own. It was a testament to resilience and the power of community. She wasn't just a single mother fighting for her child, she was a beacon of hope for others navigating their own storms. Later that evening, Sam raised a toast. To Claire, he said, his voice steady and warm. For reminding us that even in the face of adversity, courage and kindness can triumph. And for showing us all the beauty of never giving up. The applause was loud, but Claire couldn't help the tears that welled in her eyes. This wasn't the life she had envisioned, but it was one filled with purpose and strength. In the following months, Claire's art career blossomed. She started a nonprofit organization to support single mothers facing coercion and intimidation, using her platform to amplify their stories. Sam became a co-founder, dedicating his time to ensuring no one would have to face what Claire did alone. As Claire tucked her daughter in one night, she whispered softly, "You've given me a reason to fight, little one. And because of you, we're building something beautiful." In that quiet moment, with her daughter's tiny hand gripping her finger, Claire felt the peace and fulfillment she had long been seeking. She had turned her pain into power, her struggle into strength, and with the help of those who believed in her, she had created a life filled with love, hope, and a future worth fighting for. One day, about 6 months after Lily's birth, Ethan unexpectedly showed up at Claire's apartment. He looked disheveled, a shadow of his former self. His once impeccable suit was replaced with casual, wrinkled clothing, and his confident demeanor had been replaced with hesitation and uncertainty. Ethan began to speak, his voice low and laden with regret. He admitted that his actions had been selfish and driven by fear of losing his carefully curated life, fear of judgment, and fear of responsibility. He acknowledged that he had failed not only Claire but also Lily, who deserved a father willing to be there for her. Claire listened patiently but did not let Ethan off the hook easily. She reminded him of the pain and humiliation he had caused her, the emotional toll of the trial, and the loneliness she had felt during her pregnancy. She told him that while she appreciated his apology, trust and forgiveness were not things that could be easily given, they had to be earned. Ethan asked if he could be part of Lily's life. He expressed a desire to take responsibility and build a relationship with his daughter. Claire, however, made it clear that this decision was not hers alone to make. She said he would need to prove his sincerity through his actions, not just words. Sam, who had been listening from the other room, eventually joined the conversation. He told Ethan that while he wasn't trying to replace him as Lily's father, he wouldn't stand by and let Ethan disrupt the life they had built. Sam made it clear that Claire and Lily's well-being came first and that Ethan would need to show consistency and commitment if he wanted to be involved. Ethan's journey toward redemption was not easy. He started attending therapy to address his deep-seated issues and took steps to rebuild his life. Over time, he made small gestures to show his commitment, such as contributing financially to Lily's upbringing and showing up consistently for supervised visits. Meanwhile, Sam continued to be a constant presence in Lily's life. He and Claire had grown closer, and their relationship blossomed into a deep, loving partnership. Sam treated Lily as his own, and she grew up knowing she had a father figure who cherished her unconditionally. Ethan's involvement in Lily's life remained limited, as trust was something he had to continuously earn. However, he made progress in his journey to become a better person and father. In the end, Claire's strength, Sam's unwavering support, and the love they shared as a family proved to be the foundation for a brighter future. While Ethan's role remained secondary, the experience taught everyone involved powerful lessons about accountability, forgiveness, and the enduring resilience of love. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Home of Stories TV. And do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring videos. Drop your comments below, let us know your thoughts.